Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In this video I am playing my AGA City League game, or played my AGA City League game. Unfortunately, we're not really allowed to stream the games, so I could record them, but technically we're generally in a call with like another person, and I would not want to impose that on them. So for the most part, I just stick to reviewing the games after. And in this game, we're actually playing Team Atlanta 1, and I am playing against Feijun Low. I don't know actually how to say his last name, honestly. But I believe he goes by Frank, and he's playing black, and I'm playing white in this game. Now, I was fairly confident going into this game. I think Frank is somewhere in the mid 5 dawn area. Um, though it is worth noting that last year, despite being very confident going into my game against Frank, I did lose in the last matchup that we had. Um, but I've been playing a lot better since last year, so I expected the results to be a little bit more heavily in my favor, especially since I was pretty confident in our first game that I was a little bit stronger. And honestly, it went really, really well. But let's go ahead and take a look at the game and see how it went. So I was playing white, and I generally try to keep things as simple as possible with most of my opponents. I'm a huge fan of just playing. I'm a huge fan of playing as simple as possible, which is very funny because anyone that knew me from like 2006 or 2007 knew me as a fairly aggressive player. I'm generally a big fan of just making things as basic as possible, very understandable for myself. So I'm a big fan of just simply playing Q10, even though I feel pretty well studied into these attachments and even these approaches. A lot of people don't know, but if you let's say that black decided to approach over here on the left side, you don't actually have to play only Q10. You can also play an approach here. You can also 3-3. And in some cases, you can even just simply Tanuki away. Um, but I always highly recommend at least learning the most basic one. Uh, so if you're a DDK, I would say it's okay to play this one. But I always recommend my students to always play high. Um, I guess I might as well go into a little bit of detail about that. Um, Basically, the reason that I tell my SDK students, so my students that are SDK, and my Don students that they shouldn't be playing this one, is because usually when you play low, it's a sign of really bad habits. If you're doing this in the opening of the game, like for example, right now, high is almost always going to be better this early in the game. I say almost, but technically I mean always. Um, Obviously, if there's a little bit more structure to the game, then maybe low might be better. But generally, if we play this really early, to me, whenever I have students that come to me and they're playing low, and they often don't think it's that big of an issue, it tends to be a problem where they're not just playing low here, but they're also playing low like all across the board. And they're ending up with very low stones. And this tells me that they have created a habit around the idea that if they play lower, um, they are safer, or that it's quote unquote easier for them to build or something like that. And that's just generally not the best for the game. It is a good idea to play high to learn how to play flexibly. This is a very flexible way to play. And so it's often better to play high. And then some more advanced stuff might be approaching a corner or just jumping into the 3-3 or something like that. Um, but in general, that is normally how I like to play, but I chose to play the attachment here against Frank. Um, which I think is good. Now, something that surprised me here was that he Atari'd here. So the normal variations are here, into here, and then he might do this, and then white, will follow up with something like that, or white will cut in the corner, black will turn, and then go back to the corner, and then white will just jump. Like, this is really common. Well, I would say this is not as common these days. Most of the time, black will actually just take the outside. And we'll get into this really crazy Joseki here. Though I guess I wouldn't call it crazy either, but the better you know it, the less crazy it seems. Though it seems pretty crazy when you're just starting out. But yeah, the thing is, though, is that he chooses to play in a slightly different order, right? Like, we can see that he chooses to Hane on the inside, and then suddenly he's like, well, let me revert it, right? If we go here, it's now reverted, which is very strange to me, because if he really wanted this Joseki, he would just Hane on the inside immediately. And it confused me a little bit, and I almost got caught off guard here, and I almost did revert it, because, like I said, I liked being really simple. I like playing things that I know how to play. And so I was like, okay, maybe I just revert back into a normal Joseki that I know, something that I'm familiar with. But I thought about it, and I think generally I don't really care about these two stones. Like, the result is fairly solid for me, regardless. So what I ended up playing in the game was I said, okay, I can just Atari out, give up the two stones, and I can take a pretty solid shape here. Now, I didn't play this perfectly. I actually think this connection is a little silly. I should really be playing the jump here, and I should be okay giving up one stone, or I should be okay, allowing black to try to fight me here, right? Like, this is a very hard position for black to play from. So I played an empty triangle, but I keep them really low on liberties. And so this is a very difficult result for black. But basically, they went into a variation that they either did not know, did not revert, or did not expect me to play this way, and that they were actually expecting me to revert. In which case, it was weird that they chose to Hane on this side first. Now, I'm not sure what could have changed their mind. I think we're pretty early on in the game, where I would say both moves are good. And I think this is actually an issue with a lot of players that are in SDK. Now, of course, Frank is not SDK. But something that I think is a really common issue with some SDK players is that it is important to make sure that your opening is set up properly. But at the same time, most moves can be really good. So sometimes something that I try to teach my students, because when a lot of players are playing the opening, and I don't want everybody to start just going out and playing like all these random moves, but I can tell you right now, if you play here, it's very small, like it's a very small mistake, right? Same for here. You could play this, and it's a very small mistake. And I use mistake very loosely because I would arguably say they're not really mistakes. Now, I wouldn't play them because they're not well studied. They're not moves that I'm familiar with. And I like playing things that I am familiar with. But when I am trying to make decisions in the opening, and I ask myself, what is a good value to time, like time to value thing to think about? I don't want to sit here and think about if this move is better than this move, or is this move better than this one? Is this the right direction here? There's only like 6 moves on the board. I guarantee you this move, this move, this move, this one, they're all some form of correct. Maybe more so than others, but it's a very small margin. So for me, it was very strange for black to decide, oh, hey, I'm going to change like I want to go back to the other direction on this very crazy open board. when to me, I think this result is just correct for black and correct for white. Like it ends up being even. As where what kind of happened in the game here, I think white takes a small lead, right? And by small, I think this is like, according to the AI, when I was reviewing it with AI, it was basically a 3-point lead for white, as to where this is a 2-point lead for white. So slight mistake by me. So black splits, which I think is okay. I did say fine move, but I think black can choose to approach, approach here. Anything like that. I think all of these moves are okay. I think their move here is fine too. Now, I chose to jump because I think, I think if I jump here or here, I think any of these are okay. But I think that I'm more worried about these stones than I am about these stones. I think if black Hanes, it's very easy for me to just Hane back. As to where if I jump here, I'm not really making progress against this very thick group that we just gave up 2 stones to. Even though these 2 stones don't have much value in terms of actual points, it has made this group very unkillable, basically. Not to say that the lower right is killable, but I am more worried about this group than I am this one. And strengthening our top one doesn't really have any point. But what was really interesting to me was the AI said I should play this move. And I try not to play this move. That's not to say that I think this move is completely bad. But it's very rarely the correct move. It's like, it's not very often that this is actually correct, and that you would really often rather jump out. And kind of like, so like, let's say black jumps here. White is realistically looking for this kind of shape, right? And so my thought was that this is what I was trying to look for. And so I didn't really expect that this would be a good move for white here. Just because it's the second line, it's very low, even though it does make it very easy for white to connect up on both sides. And if black tries to like split this, for example, with something like this, the value that white gets, like the strength that white gets, even if black gets an attack on this, which realistically isn't possible, it's very difficult for black to attack this. But even if they did, the value that white got, the strength that white got on one side, is very likely just going to end up being very good for white. So the idea would be more so that for black to play away here, and it would just kind of be just a normal result, Now you'll notice that I did jump in here, and that was because I didn't really see the value in capping and playing like this. So you can see how, like, even though I connect up, I didn't really see the value in doing this and trying to get connected. So I thought taking the base away from black was the best thing that I could do here. And force him to kind of, jump out or run out. So this was kind of what I was expecting. But he doesn't actually do that. He peeps here, which I think is really, really bad. I think this was one of his biggest mistakes in the game. Not point-wise, but I think this is really what set the tone for the game. Well, maybe not this one. I think this one plus one other one, and we'll talk about it. So I think he was expecting that I would play here, and then he would peep, and then I would connect, and it would kind of go into something like this, where I look very stringy. But there's a really good saying that sometimes your best move, your opponent's best move is your best move. And so I chose this one, and it does end up being the blue move, which is great. And so basically, even though it allows black to cut this move, or cut this stone, we don't want to Atari here because we're making black stronger, right? We can play here, and then if they take this, we get an even stronger shape with the tigers. Basically, in order for him to capture the stone cleanly, he would have to give up these 2 stones. So he can't cut very easily, and he has to go back to strengthening the group himself. which is going to give me the dog nose or some form of a shape here that makes me feel a lot safer, right? Um, Now, he also does something a little strange here as well. And I think this is the other move that really set the tone for my lead, is he plays this move. And something that I try to tell my students is to pay attention to the way that your opponent is played in the opening, because it's going to be a bit of a testament to their goal for the entire game. When I see my opponent play this move, it tells me that he is trying to cut off this group, which means he wants to attack it, and that he's betting the entire game on attacking this group. This is really common in Fox players, especially like 1-dons to 3-dons. And you will hear me say 1-dons to 3-dons a lot because there are a lot of habits that 1-dons players pick up through Fox that they constantly repeat until somebody punishes them multitude of times. And I think this is one of them. And so basically, black cuts me off, but the problem is I got a lot of strength here and a lot of points for free. And the problem is that black isn't going to benefit from attacking this because white is so strong. So you can see, like, I get the dog nose, and all that happened is black now has to run out in this direction, and it's going to be towards this very thick white group, right? Obviously, if black gets far enough, we could see, issues. But you'll kind of see how I utilize this strength in a little bit here. But basically, it's not very good to do that. Instead, black would rather just take the outside and say, okay, you can connect up. Even though it's not very clean to connect up here, like obviously, if black plays if white plays like this, then black can just sacrifice the 3 stones to get the cut. But obviously, white's not going to do that. Again, it's very hard to see a world where white just dies here. And again, betting everything on that is very bad. I know there's like a saying, attack for profit or something like that, but I think it's a little bit harder said than done. You're just not going to find players that fall into that so easily. Especially players like me, where I like to create a lot of very thick groups. It's very rare for me to leave a group with tons of weaknesses behind. At least against players my own level, players that are slightly stronger than I am. I like fixing groups. It's just one of my favorite things to do, is to attack from thickness, or attack from strength rather than from weakness. And so I'm going to play all kinds of moves that make me feel really safe. However, my opponent, on the other hand, left a really cool sequence behind that I actually didn't realize until after I had played this move. Because at this time, my whole plan is just to be stronger. And I think that's, again, a testament to my style. I really like fixing things before I even consider how to attack. And in this case, I didn't really think about this, but I can play this cutting point, which I do eventually realize that I can do that. And I do eventually cut it. But I didn't even consider that I could do it earlier. So like here, I'm actually thick enough to make this cutting point. And we can see that it is a very difficult result for black to play this way. But it is also at the same time the only way that they can play. There's not really a lot that black can do to prevent this. Basically, no matter what, I am going to end up getting this sequence. So if black tries to push this direction, white gets to come out, and then if black tries to push through, even if black plays this Atori here, white will connect, and there's just nowhere for black to run. And if black plays this side again, black is just dead. And honestly, if you can live like this, which you can't, but if you could, you would rather be dead anyway. It's just a very difficult game for black at that point. So black has to sacrifice the 2 stones, but also be prepared for this fight. Now, I knew that I at this point was in a good spot. I was very happy with the position of the board, and I was just like, do I really want to like fight this position and jump out and run about the board? I was like, nah, because if I play here, I know my opponent is going to play here, and that gives me another move. And generally, my thought is I'm going to be able to create a lot for myself on this board in 2 moves. And if they do, try to play out like other moves, I can come back to this a little bit later after I strengthen like the top side, right? So I didn't immediately play the extension here, even though I should play that extension immediately. It is pretty important to play that extension. Uh, that's also what AI yelled at me for after the game, is that I should play the extension. Um, and I knew that too, but at the same time, I really wanted to. I just thought senseis were nice. Senseis were very nice, and so I just take 2 enclosures. These are fairly winnable moves. So I think this is super greedy by me. In fact, it's so greedy that when I played it, I laughed a little bit because I knew I should not play this far. And this actually happens quite a bit to me sometimes, where I just like, oh, what's a good move? I'll just take an extension, And I go too far and instantly he punishes it. Um, I should technically play a little bit closer. There's no reason for me to go really far. In fact, something that's really good to note as well is that no matter what, you should always play the move that you think is best. So even if I wasn't ahead, and I was behind, let's say I was behind, this still probably wouldn't be okay. Generally, there is this misconception where if you are behind, you should play super crazy and do really crazy things to make it really complicated for the opponent. I am not of that opinion. I am more of the opinion that if you just play the best move, it will increase your chances of winning. And I think that's obviously the thing is, like, when you play the best move, the game gets closer because it's the best move, but also at the same time, the best move is often also the most complicated thing for your opponent to deal with. Um, it's not to say that you're going to be capable of finding the best move every time, but when you have this idea of, oh, if I go a little bit further, maybe I'll gain a little bit more. It's true that you might gain a little bit more, but you are more likely to gain. In fact, it is proven, obviously, due to, AI saying, yeah, if you play the best move, you're going to get more points for it, right? But basically relying on your opponent making a mistake or something like that is less likely to happen than you just winning the game because you played really good moves. Anyway, a little side tangent. That's not why I particularly played this. I just have a very bad habit of sometimes of going a little bit too far when I should have played a little bit closer. Now, I tried to go, okay, I don't think I can really fix this. So my plan is to realistically look for this move and to kind of build onto this left side. But AI actually had a really cool move. This is a super cool move. So this is a ladder breaker. So if black plays away here, for example, we can see that this just goes straight into dead stones for black. So if black responds here, this allows white to actually now pull out the stone, because earlier, if white tried to pull out the stone, it would just get netted. So we could even pull the stone out once to kind of increase the value of it and go, yeah, are you sure you want to do that now? So it's more likely that black would have to do something like this. But AI suggests that I should just this one directly. And then, yeah, so it's super cool. Super cool way to be able to pull out the stone, and then black cannot net this. And so black has to either play something like this or play something like this, and it becomes very hard on this group here, but also this group here for black to keep connected. I did not see that, however, and instead I said, okay, I just want a couple extra liberties, and then I'm going to go back to my original idea of building this. Now I want to point out something else that I say very often to my students is, in fact, I actually want to not attribute this to myself because this isn't something that I originally said, and it was something that one of my students said to me. Um, One of my students said that because I told them empty triangles are very rarely good, and it's gonna be a really hard time to find good empty triangles. Usually they're pretty bad. And they said, uh, after a couple lessons with me, they said, "Hey, Paige, I understand what you said when you said sometimes empty triangles are good, but for the most part, they're bad." And they said, it makes a lot of sense that empty triangles are bad and that I shouldn't always be playing them, but maybe I also should not look for them. Um, they said, sure, eventually I might be able to go and play a good empty triangle someday. But right now, I am looking for them to the point that it clouds my judgment. And so he said that every time he sees an empty triangle, he tells himself that there is probably a better move. And in my experience, I kind of ran with that, and I started kind of thinking about that in my own games. And I realized that the amount of times that a good empty triangle pops up, usually it's in the corner. Uh, like when you're sealing off end game, basically. Otherwise, you don't really run into that many good empty triangles. Um, and because you don't run into that many, it is a really good idea to kind of adopt the idea of like, because there isn't many, it might really be clouding your judgment, or you might be making a bad habit of just simply playing too many empty triangles, but also too many other bad shapes as well. And so a good idea is every time you, or at least a good idea to create better habits, because I know a lot of people are very headstrong about the idea that, oh, if some empty triangles are good, maybe I should look for them. I think that's understandable. I don't think that's the best way to go about things, but I can understand it. But I think it's a really good idea to go, if I play, you know, 10 empty triangles in the middle of the game, and they're not in the situations of like end game corners, like sealing off sides and stuff like that. Maybe it's a good idea to create a good habit and go, um, if I have an option of an empty triangle, there's probably a better move on the board that I can play instead. And in a lot of cases, that better move is to jump here or to jump here. In this case, we can obviously see that this is not going to be a good jump, right? We would just get captured. But I was pretty surprised when my opponent played here because I think this is a really bad mistake. Um, I think it's just a really bad move for black. It should be here instead. This is the better shape. This is generally the shape you're looking for. And if you can't do that, then you generally can Hane. But of course, we could see in this case that also doesn't work. But basically, you would really rather play this shape than you would the other one. Um, but I am not quite sure why he chose to play this one. I checked with AI to make sure that I wasn't misreading something, but it said no, it should just be here. Um, so to create better habits, so for me, I would say that I started doing this too, where every time I see an empty triangle and I'm like, oh, it might be good here. I always go, okay, but it's usually not. Maybe I really hate the idea of going, maybe just this time it's good. Maybe just this time. If there's no clear way that I can see where it's actually good, like if I can't read a sequence where the empty triangle is actually good, I will just look for, I will just say there's probably a better shape. In fact, the way that I like to do it personally, is that I like looking for the better shape first, and reading the better shape. And if I can't see how the better shape is bad, then I will choose the better shape. So if the better shape and the empty triangle achieve the same result and both end up having a good result, then I will choose the good shape. So in this case, I will choose the jump. So we could say that the empty triangle here and this achieve the same results. Basically, they both keep white cut off up here. So which one is better? And that would be the jump. Bad shapes have something that I call shape tax, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a later video that I'm working on. But generally, I don't like leaving behind the shape tax weaknesses, which is basically the choice of playing a bad shape in the position in the spot of a good shape that does kind of the same thing, and then you end up paying for it later. In any case, it's going to be a very fun video. I think you guys will like it. But yeah, so black plays the empty triangle here, and I just go with kind of like a normal. I don't know, like my normal plan. I didn't really think too much of it. He also does something here that I thought was bad. He pushes instead of jump. So it's not really that big of a difference because he can still do it here. But I do think it's still a really good idea to jump as early as possible. It's just a way better shape. This is just basically pushing from behind. I think he might have been worried about something like this, but that just seems a little odd. So I'm not entirely sure what he might have been worried about. And then he cuts here. And so this is kind of where some of that shape tax might be coming in, because if he actually has here, and we go back into this, it's very difficult for me to do exactly what I did, which you'll see here. So I basically turn this into a ko, but he has to play the ko like this and play the ko here. And this obviously looks really terrible. A lot of people are going to be like, wow, do I really have to play that? But this is actually better than the ko that happened in the game. So it's kind of ko almost no matter what. It's very difficult for black to play this game without the ko. Now I make a little bit of a small mistake here. I push before taking. I should always take first. Always take first. I think I was a little bit on autopilot at this point because I just knew the result was so good for me that I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to push here and I'm just going to profit, right? But I autopilot pushed and then realized, oh yeah, I should take the stone first, like back once. And then I just knew I threw out a ko. Now, AI said I can sacrifice this and play like this. But it was very complicated, and I was just like, I'm not very confident in this. The thing is, like, sure, I could play something like this or like this and probably live. Probably, like maybe. But here's the thing. If I play here and black takes back, and let's say I just play here, and then actually let's be a little bit more like this and like this. The thing is, I'm really far ahead like this. I don't need to save these stones. I originally intended to sacrifice these after I had realized I made a really long extension. So my general thought is, if I was intending to sacrifice, why make the game a little bit more difficult on myself and take the top side and then pray that I'm going to live here? So I'm not super fond of this idea, but this is something that the AI suggested, to just give up the, just to give these up and just live inside, because you know that's super easy. It's super possible, apparently. Granted, I won't say it's like super difficult. Like I can see where it's coming from. Like there's a lot of room to just run out here. It's very hard for black to hold this. But I think that getting all the forcing moves on the outside here is very similar to how I got to play here, and I got 2 free moves in my enclosures, right? And so my general thought is, if if I have to play this, it's okay because I got 2 free moves again. So it's not only 2 free moves earlier, but that's 2 free moves now. And all I had to do was give up the top side that black is either going to have to come back to capture, or they have to make this shape here, right? Um, but in any case, I make a co-threat and I go back and capture. I don't really have a problem with it. And I don't have a co-threat on this board. Now, I still think that this is actually just better. I really think I should just seal off this side or like play here or something. This is just obviously like better. But I thought that I could play this way and it would be good. The thing is, I thought if I played here, I would open up this cutting point. Um, but the problem is it didn't really open up that cutting point. So like I thought about ways of doing this and maybe this, but none of these actually open up the cut. I would have to play here, and even then it doesn't particularly make this any easier. Which is generally why I think it's better to go back and just take this. Because I can see the value immediately. I know a lot of people might think, hey, we're cutting black off here. But the problem is I don't know if I can kill this. And if I don't know I can kill this, then I don't know what the value is. And I really like things that I can tell you the value of. I know how many points I'm getting here, right? Like I know what I'm getting with these 2 moves, but I don't know how many points I'm getting by extending here. It's not to say that extending is completely bad, but I do think that it's better to be like, hey, I can get 2 free moves. Uh, Honestly, my general thought was I could probably make any threat on this board, and it's probably good for me. Uh, and so I just kind of played, and I thought they would respond, and it didn't happen. So black says, okay, I'm going to make the idea of, hey, if I connect under, I get a couple extra points because it prevents white from playing here. I think that's okay. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that move. Now, I do think that these moves are all sente. I can play either one of them. But I wanted to save them for co-threats. Now, black makes a huge mistake here. I think he didn't realize that he has a liberty shortage. So when I play this connection and he goes here, he has an issue where he has to play O19 first. And if he has to play O19 first, it means that he can't actually connect here. Like, this is an illegal move. So he has to take, and that allows me to take this very nice chunk of stones. But also, one other thing that he doesn't do is he doesn't play the forcing move here. Something that is really good to get in the habit of is if your stones are going to die or you are going to sacrifice your stones, you should probably play the forcing moves first. So like once he plays here and I play here and here and here, he can no longer get this move. It's not possible because it's just going to get captured, right? And he's going to be captured, and this is gone. But if you're at the point where you're going to die for sure, you should probably just give up the stones, or not give up the like. You should obviously you want to capture these, but I mean like, it should be okay to play the 4C move out, right? Like if white connects here, and then you can just go back to what you were doing. I don't know how big of a difference the stone makes, but I do think it is pretty important to make sure that you are getting any 4C moves out, because I know that black plays this pretty incorrectly afterwards. So their only choice really is to go back and make the eye here. Now, I am aware, however, that if black plays this, that black is now sacrificing the top instead. And I'll be honest, I actually think this is better than the game. I think this is better than the game. I really don't think this is that big. Now, I would take this. This is something that I might do. Well, I won't say I won't take it. I still think this is a lot better again because I think these are not really that big, but I still think getting this in is important. Now I make a big mistake here. I think this is probably my biggest mistake of the game, maybe, if not K17. Um, I should honestly just play here, or here, or here. Basically anything to push here. Um, I don't really think killing these stones is that big. What's funny is my opponent also didn't think killing those stones was that big. These ones here, but he never Hanes. I think if you think these are very small, then you should Hane as fast as possible. So here, here Hane would be really important. And then just take the left side, right? Now I will say that the game is hopeless for black at this point. It is very hopeless. After I get these stones, the game is very difficult. Technically, the game was difficult quite a bit early on, but once this happens, the game is very difficult. That might be why he chose to keep extending here, but otherwise, there really isn't a lot for him. And instead, he should just say, "Okay, I want the left side. It's where all the points are, and if I give this up, I get more points on the left side that are worth more than the center points." So here, I might be a little inclined to have this idea. But I do think in the game, I probably would have played something more like this. Or I think I had the idea of doing this during the game. Increasing the value of these stones early, and then threaten, like saying, hey, black, do you really want to give up even more? Something like this, and then kind of going back to pushing here. I think that was around about what my plan was. And so I think it should be a very good idea for black to just Hane as soon as possible. And I felt pretty comfortable here at this point. Now, I almost made a massive mistake in this game. I almost played this. Very bad move for white. So if I play this move here at b7, it's very easy for black to now just win the race. If I try to take the liberty, so obviously I'm behind in liberties here. But if I try to take the liberties here, if they take, they're ahead in liberties. But if they Hane and I Hane back, and then they go here, I no longer win that liberty race. Now, it's still really good result for white. It's very hard to give white a bad result in these games. But this would be a very huge mistake for white, considering that black is dead here, black should be dead here. So I have to be very careful about how I play this area. And so I Hane, and he throws in, and then I go for the one stone. Now I can't. So let's say he does something like this. I can't actually go for. I can't actually go for. How did I do it earlier? Yeah, so, or I can go for this, where I take the side here, and I can win the liberty race. That's right. So the variation I was trying to show you guys was earlier was, I was thinking more so about this one, but also this one, because this is the one that actually works later. But the problem is that we don't win this one fast enough, and so it would just kind of be an additional stone, and we wouldn't be as thick on the outside. But overall, it's better for me to just escape and take the outside. And then I think pretty much from there, the game is finished. I don't know why he didn't do this. I think I'm actually either he was hoping I would make a mistake, or he didn't realize I could cut this off, because I can't see this being what his goal was. And this is just very bad for black, because if he connects, he gets captured. Um, but yeah, he pretty much ended up resigning here, and it was my victory. Right now, my team is 1-1 against this team. We still have our third board and our fourth board to play. And hopefully I can also record a video for you guys over those games. But we'll have to see. Um, that was my Fox telling me there's a game going on. Forgot that I had that open. Uh, anyway, we'll go ahead and end the video here. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you in the next video.